When it comes to retiring, there are big concerns that will always be there. And then year to year, decade to decade, there are current concerns that people have. And that's what we want to talk about, unpack a little bit here today. This is Abe Abich, financial advisor, founder of Abich Financial Services. I'm Heather Branch, here to ask Abe about people that are retiring in 2025, or they wanted to retire in 2025, but now they're wondering, is it still a great idea? Just because there's just, it almost feels like whiplash, the back and forth. And it's not even just the market, Abe. It's, you brought this before. I mean, there are wars going on in Europe.
Right.
That hasn't been happening.
Tons of headlines. Tons of headlines in 2025. Yep.
And people are just feeling the shakiness of it all. And they're thinking to themselves, I've got a good job and let me not mess this thing up. Maybe I should just keep working a little longer. There is dangers in that mentality as well.
Right.
So let's unpack this.
Sure.
Let's start with the bigger issue idea, because AARP, it has more than 38 million members. And when it comes to what these people are most concerned about, this is CEO Dr. Maisha Minter-Jordan on CBS Sunday Morning talking about it.
People are living longer, they're staying in the workforce longer, and so the needs are changing, but the needs are still urgent. Our members are most worried about Medicare, Social Security, and family caregiving. We're hearing more and more from people who are in the sandwich generation, taking care of younger children, taking care of their aging parents, and the financial hardships that can bring.
So what she's saying, bringing this idea about the bigger fear of basically these underlying concerns, they really point towards, am I going to run out of money? Am I going to be okay? So I want to talk about, how do you help people go from fear to confidence? But also, if we were to think about what's happening right now because of the economy being all over the place. I mean, some economists are now saying the chance for a recession is at 50%. Mm-hmm. For somebody who wanted to retire this year, maybe they're asking themselves, should I stay in the job a little longer, or can I still go ahead and retire? That's also a current worry and concern for people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So fear to confidence. How do we go from, first question, how do we go from fear to confidence, or more confidence, more added confidence, is by having a plan. And so we want to try to tune out as much of the noise as possible. Yes, it's going to affect you to some extent, like the markets, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of this stuff you can't control and won't affect you, right? Or maybe won't affect you, enough to pause on retirement, right? You can continue moving forward with your plans, probably, if you have a plan and you know what's going to happen in your own plan, and you've controlled it as much as possible. So going from fear to confidence, I think we can do that by planning more, right? By putting together a plan and then proactively following it, tracking it, measuring it, updating it. We meet with our clients, typically offer the opportunity to meet 4 times a year, quarterly. Our clients have found that by meeting regularly and by discussing the plan and going over everything, it gives them more confidence every time we meet with them. Almost every time we meet with a client, we ask them, how do you feel now? They feel better. They feel like there's more of a relief. They were able to talk about it with us, and not just talk about their finance with us, but talk about, all kinds of things, their grandkids and travel plans. And it's just kind of nice, right, to have a partner there by your side that's helping you in this phase of retirement. Right. Now, when it comes to this year, I think your second question was, what about this year? There's so much noise out there. Yeah. Should someone still consider retiring this year if this was the year for them? Well, I would say that depends. I mean, some people will just automatically postpone retirement until a lot of the noise and dust out there settles down, and they'll say, I don't want to retire right now. I mean, there's just too much going on out there and too much uncertainty. Yeah, sure. And maybe you want to retire when the markets are totally up or whatever, make you feel better. But for a lot of people, with as much change and as much noise and as much new news has been out there in 2025, they can still control their own plan, their own future, by focusing in on their own personal financial plan, and by tuning out the noise as much as possible, focusing in on that plan and just moving forward with their plan, their goals, right? And not, watching CNBC in the news so often, sometimes every day, sometimes multiple times a day. People tell me they're watching it, and it's just too much, because then it's going to obviously make you anxious. If things are down, or if things are up, you're fine. But when things are down, you're not. So I think there's a handful of things we want to consider, Heather, for people that are just about to retire. if you're watching this podcast and you're down to months, a couple of years or less, maybe months, maybe days between now and the time you want to retire, you really want to think through a lot of things, and we really encourage you to meet with someone who specializes in helping people, at the point of retirement. And that's what our firm does. Almost all of our clients are 55 years old and older, most in their 60s, that have already retired or just about to retire. And so there's 5 things I think of that pre-retirees should be thinking of, should be paying attention to, should be asking their financial professionals about, in terms of if they can retire. And number one is, how much do you plan to spend every single year? How much money do you need in your bank account net after taxes and healthcare and deductions to live the retirement of your dreams, to live a comfortable retirement where you would be happy, satisfied, fulfilled, and living retirement on purpose? What is that amount of money? Because we need to know what that is, and don't fluff that number. If it's 10,000, let the financial professional know it's 10,000 so they can try to build a plan together around that. So number one, you need to know what you're spending or what you plan to spend in retirement, so the whole plan can be built around that. Number two, what are your goals? Do you want to spend it all down by the time you pass away? Do you want to pass on as much money as possible? Do you want to live really comfortably and then pass on whatever's left? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want a second or third property? Are you charitably inclined? Do you want to give money away while you're alive and see that money being used and put towards good work? Do you want to just pass it on when you pass away? What are your goals? What do you want to do? What's important to you? Because the money should be there to serve those purposes. The money that you've saved the last 30 to 50 years should be there to help you accomplish your goals. So the financial professional will want to know what your goals are. And if you don't know what your goals are, you need to write them down and think through them and get them down on paper. Okay. 3, timing. When do you want to retire? Like, some people have it down to the date. It's when I turn 65, when I turn 62, 67. It's when I get that final bonus. It's when I get that final payout. It's when I've reached 30 years of service, 40 years of service. It's when my wife hits 65, whatever it is. Some people have that time down to the day, like the exact day, and then it's daily countdown, right? So when do you want to retire? What is the timing? And I think that's important. Because then the financial professional and you will know how much time we are dealing with before you want to fully retire. Number 4, obviously very important, how much savings and investments and resources and cash are you likely to have by the time, well, number 1, do you have today? Number 2, will you likely have at the point of retirement to generate retirement income for you for the rest of your life? Okay. How much are you going to be working with? Okay. And then finally, I'll just combine these two because there are a lot of other things, but especially for someone in their early 60s that hasn't reached Medicare yet, they're going to be probably paying for their own health insurance. And we get a lot of questions around healthcare and how do I make that transition? Look, I'm covered at work now. My healthcare is covered. We're both on the same plan. I was just talking to a couple earlier this morning about this. They're 62 and 59. They're going to be, the husband will have to pay for private healthcare for 3 years until he can hop on Medicare. And the wife will be on private healthcare for like 6 years because they're 62 and 59 and retiring pretty early. Yeah. Okay. And it's probably going to be 10, 12, 15,000 a year, right? Until they can hop on Medicare. In addition to that healthcare, I would add taxes, right? Okay. So most Americans, most people we meet with, although they've done a wonderful job of saving, they have most of it saved in TSPs, 401ks, and IRAs, and it's pre-taxed. And while the amount of money might be there to create the income that they need, if the tax code changes, taxes go up down the road, is it going to really continue to be able to create the income that you need, or is more of it going to be eaten up by taxes? And then if legacy is important to you and passing on any money to your loved ones, worst possible places to pass on money to your loved ones to or from would be those fully taxable accounts. Best types of accounts would be life insurance, Roth IRAs, because those are all tax-free. Okay. So, we could go on and on, but hopefully for those of you that are watching and listening right now, if you pay attention to those 4 or 5 things, That's a really good start, really good starting point. And then from there, you can go into much more detail, but you got to know the basics. And those are some of the main basics.
Got into the basics, got into the numbers, how they apply to you. The other thing I was thinking about, going back a few minutes ago, the point you made about somebody who was thinking about retiring this year or soon, and with all of the headlines, with everything going on in the world, they're saying, whoa, 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 I can't retire with all this going on right now. I was thinking to myself, I mean, it's always going to be something.
There's
right?
always going to be something.
There's always going to be something going on that's going to make you say, oh, I can't right now. And what you shouldn't do, what you should be saying is, I can't let all this stuff get in my way.
That's right.
That should be the perspective.
Right. Yeah. Don't let the markets, don't let the government, don't let all the news, don't let the tariff situation, whatever it is at the time that you're planning on retiring.
That's the thing.
Control.
If this year it's tariffs and a wonky economy. What's it going to be next year or in 5 years from now? I mean, can you imagine like 5 years ago, COVID, what? Like it's always going to be something.
You're right. A lot of this, I think, is really still in your control. You can take the reins. The choice is yours. Don't be a victim here. Be proactive, take action, control what you can. And I think what you might find is that you're probably still okay. And that you probably can retire with dignity, with confidence, with more confidence after having put together a plan, because you've thought through everything with a financial professional who specializes in helping people in this phase of retirement. That's what we call phase 2. It's the distribution and decumulation phase of a retirement plan. That's not a bad thing. That's a great thing, because you've worked your entire life to get here to enjoy it. You know how to grow it and accumulate it. Now you need a plan to help you distribute it, package this all together, streamline it, think about all the things that are going to affect your wealth over the rest of your life, and put together a plan to meet all those goals, address all those risks and challenges. And you'll be set.
You'll be set. It starts with educating yourself. That's what, of course, Abe will always tell you. I mean, just the idea of some of these points that you were saying we need to know. How much are you spending? What are your goals? These are basic questions that I'm sure a lot of people you meet have never even thought about, because there's so few people doing what you do when it comes to this second phase of our financial life. You have fortunately taken the time to write down a lot of this initial information about things we need to know about, the questions we need to be asking, things we need to be thinking about in your book, The Retirement Mountain, The 7 Steps to a Long-Lasting Retirement. Speak a little bit about the book and what people can expect to learn from it.
Yeah, in the book, it's a guide to help retirees get down their own retirement mountain safely. The Retirement Mountain, the 7 Steps toward a Long-Lasting Retirement. A lot of what we just talked about in this podcast is in the book, and much more. Matter of fact, step 1, develop a retirement income plan and roadmap. In that income plan, you're going to see where all the income can come from your nest egg. The roadmap is not only the income, but much more: your Social Security, the distributions, your investments, taxes, healthcare, legacy. It's a pretty comprehensive plan that addresses all the things when it comes to your money, and that's what you want. And you're not going to be able to do everything at once. The plan will evolve, and it's flexible, and it should adapt. But within 6 months, a year, 2 years, if you're working with a fiduciary phase 2 financial planning professional, you should have talked through all these things and planned for them and kind of know what you want. And that would be ideal.
Got it. And if you were
that's
looking,
what the book can help with.
Obviously, some initial thought starters and ideas. If you want a copy of the book, anybody that comes in or meets with Abe and his team for an initial meeting can get a free copy of the book. We also have links posted in the show notes. You can purchase the book yourself off of Amazon, lots of different ways to get this information. And as Abe was saying, the idea of meeting with somebody, a retirement planner, somebody that specializes in this next phase of your financial life, that is such an important thing. And if you're wondering where to begin that conversation, Abe and his team also here to meet with you in that space as well. TheRetirementKey.com is our website. Or again, we have links posted in the show notes. You can just click there. 2025 can still be your year.
Absolutely.
Don't let noise get in the way of you having a good time in your retirement. So Abe and his team here to help you get to work on all of that. Again, it's TheRetirementKey.com.